Howdy folks, go ahead and get settled in as I take you through project number 2. I did something a little different today, which is called Shou Sugi Ban, just a fancy way of saying I torched the wood and it gave it a nice outer layer of carbon which I sanded off. This is a Japanese technique used to harden the wood and also make it waterproof. This is the torch that I used to give the effect. And what you want to do when you're done torching the piece of wood is you want to apply an oil to it. This will help it waterproof and last longer. Today we are tackling the terrifying Overlook Hotel's Maze from The Shining. Here is the carbon paper that I'm going to use to transfer the image to the wood. And for those viewers who aren't sure what The Maze is, it's actually from a horror film called The Shining. I was excited to do this project because I figured it would be a quick project that would help me with my line work. Yeah, that's absolutely not what happened here. At first I used one of my pens that doesn't have any ink in it that I find that I like to use, but then I had to switch to a pencil because I couldn't keep track of what I had already marked with carbon. Now, I'm doing this a little differently. I have the wood that is Shou Sugi Ban, so it's darker, so I decided I would carve out the path and make that the lighter version of this carving. So this part was pretty pleasant because it was just coloring in the lines. However, as time went on, I began to realize just how tedious this project was going to be. I was actually freaking out the whole time I was doing this because I had to make sure that my hand was providing ample pressure to hold both of the pieces of paper in the same spot. I know I had taped it to the top part of the piece of wood, but I was still worried about it moving or the lines getting off, and it was a struggle. I really had to press down on it. You'll see me shake my hand a couple times because it was just, oh gosh, it was so tedious. I wouldn't say that The Shining is one of my favorite horror films, but it definitely does stick with me. I know my parents were affected by The Shining when they first watched it when they were kids. And it's just one of those things. It's very iconic. I mean, the scene with the blood, bursting out of the doors, Danny riding his bike down the hall and encountering the twins. My favorite, though, part of the film is probably the song that repeats throughout it. Midnight, the Stars and You is a wonderful song that I enjoy listening to. And every time I hear that song, I'm just taken back to the film. I can't stress enough how much I was freaking out the whole time that I was filling in this maze. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I was scared that I had moved it improperly at one point. Gosh, yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, I think is the best word to put it. The moment of truth. Time for the reveal. Oh, thank goodness. It turned out all right. Well, I guess it's just smooth sailing from here, folks. Right? And then I got lost in the Overlook Maze. Turns out the image I had used to transfer the pathways onto the wood was confusing me. I actually had to go in and invert the image so that the pathways were dark, that I could follow them more easily. Inverting the image basically turned the pathways dark and the walls light, so I could follow the dark pathway just as I was following the dark carbon to carve it out. I plunged headfirst into this behemoth. The maze muddled my mind, twisting and turning, disappearing at one end to only find it going the other direction. Not to mention the mask I'm wearing adds another layer of difficulty to overcome. Carving for extended periods tends to put me in a trance, and you definitely don't want to be lulled when you find yourself in the Overlook Maze. All I could do was keep moving forward and trust the lines, or rather the map if you will, that I had drawn for myself. At one point I found myself asking, am I ever getting out of here? Did I make the right turn? Every corner bore me hope that perhaps I was on the right path. Perhaps I had made the right choice. But just like that time I decided to eat cream cheese rangoons after 2 shots of whiskey, something told me otherwise. Somewhere in there my camera decided to die. It's getting a little too spoopy, if you know what I mean. But that does not deter me. Once I reached the center of the piece and had pretty much finished, I decided to go over it again, just clean up any edges as best I could, make them a little deeper so that they had a better pop on the wood as well. Adding the finishing touches by applying a couple of layers of the linseed oil. And there you have it, folks. A buttered piece of toast. Or as Ed from Ed, Ed and Eddy would have said, buttered toast. A very confusing piece of toast. A very confusing, intricate piece of toast. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment any feedback you might have. More projects will certainly be on the way. Until then, take care of yourself, and we'll meet again soon. Sayonara.